Stay tuned for Paul Harvey News and Comments coming up at 11:45 a.m. Brought to you by Marshall Mobile.
Program, how are the new buildings, the old Carthage City Hall?
Going just tremendous. Weldon Soap is our building chairman of the Building and Grounds, and he has pushed that work right along, and the room that we were turning into, the public school records room, is just going to be great.
Very good.
And that's inside the jail building, and then we'll move our assembly hall over to the old offices, and we have to finish those to get that street finished up, but we're going to do it.
You know, last week was a very busy week for you and I both.
Oh, yes.
Your feeling of the week? I thought everything went
I
wonderful.
felt that it was just tremendous for Carthage and Panola County. And I was just as proud of our people as I could be because of the enthusiasm they showed. And so I'm just still proud to be in such a community that would be chosen for the first capital on the go, and then for us to support it like we did. So all told, I thought it was a great day.
You know, they talked about around 1,000 people went to the different offices during the day. I was visiting with one of the governor's aides, one of the advanced people that we had been working with. He said if they had held that meeting in Austin and opened it up like that in a special room, that there may have been 250 people that would have shown up.
Well, they just don't do it like that, but you see, this gave us a personal chance to meet and discuss our needs with them. I felt like that we started that morning here last Thursday with a good beginning.
I did too.
I was very pleased with Mr. Mino and his response to the questions asked, and that just kicked it off. He was at it all day, and as were all the others.
You bet. Okay, today we're going to be talking about a little education.
Yeah, we have a little surprise today. Actually, this began on Thursday of last week.
Okay.
Mr. Charles Newton, who is still on the staff at the school, saw me come in from this program last Thursday at home. They have their repair shop across the street from me. And he came across and talked to me a little bit and said they had found something that he thought I'd be interested in. And he would bring it to me. And he said it was a paddle. I said, what kind of paddle? He says, well, the kind of paddle that you use to stop mischief. And he says, we found it, and it has a lot of names on it. And I couldn't remember any paddle, but he says, I'll bring it to you. I think you'd be interested. So the next day, Friday morning, he brought it across and rang my doorbell and brought it to me. And this is the paddle. It says best wishes. Now, it was up to me to find out when it happened and how it happened. And on the back are the names of 61 people signed to that. And my name is one of them. So I knew it was before I retired from the high school. This is a high school group of teachers. And I took all these names down and started working on doing a little inventory to see when this happened and what was happening that caused it to happen. I was sure that it was a gag gift, a fun thing, because it's been a long time since we've used paddles much for discipline anymore, so it was a symbol rather than an actual thing. And it was made, I'm sure, in the shop department. Well, George Smith, a name signed on it, so he was the shop man probably responsible for making the paddle. I started calling some of the old-time teachers that are not there anymore to ask what they remembered about it. And then I went to the shelf of annuals. And you'd be surprised how many hours I've put on this since last week. I took the names, alphabetized them, and worked with them. Now, there were people on the staff at the time this was done that are not signed to it, but it's almost impossible to track down everybody on the Hill. But there are 61 names. Some of them are secretaries and general staff members, but the majority of them are the teachers who were here at that time. Well, with some of the names that were on that, I could eliminate some dates. And so I went to the, as I said, to the Pine Burr shelf. We do have the whole set of annuals from the first one on up. And so I settled that it had to be due to some people who were gone from the school uh, on certain years. I knew when some had died, and it had to be within a 4-year span. So I started with 1969, 1970, 1971, and 1972. And by checking all the historical records in those 4 annuals, which took several hours, I nailed it down that it had to be the year of 7071. Well, I was talking about it in the presence of Jim Cox, and he said, "Well, I know when it was. It was 71. It had to be with those names on it." Okay. I called some of those people, and I talked to John Cordray. His name is on it. I talked to Bill Tatum. His name is on it. Well, we still couldn't nail down positively, but I'm pretty sure who was on it. I know it was that year. And I know the names that were not on it. Most of the administrators were on it. Okay, so what did this tell us? It had been presented as a gag gift, which I knew it had to be, to a high school administrator. And it was at a time that many changes were being made, had to be, to maybe as fun to the principal to say, here's something you can rule with if you need to. So I was delighted to find that the 61 names brought a lot of memories back, and I began to wonder what became of some of these teachers that are not here now. And so I've spent these hours, as I said, working to nail this down, and this had to be the year 7071. It fits for the list of teachers that are on it. All right, how did I go about that? What was my method of research to nail this paddle down to a certain school year? After all the years that the school has run, and it was found, it was before they went to the high school. This I knew to start, the present high school. It was in what is now the junior high. Well, first I made the alphabetical list of the teachers on it so I could determine that. And then I knew some of them were not there on certain years. So I began, as I said, within a span of years. And the 2 names that I hit on to nail it down for sure were 2 names I knew were temporary. And of all the annuals, I found them in only one. And that was Freddie Mason and Tommy Allison. Freddie taught speech and drama one year, and that was the year. Tommy Allison came in for the spring semester, and that was the year. And so it had to be that year. A few other names would fit, but those gave me some to be beyond a doubt. What were the special events of that year that made it so interesting? That is the year that the court forced us to have total integration. So we had a lot of changes, and we had to have, it was serious times for all of us, and so we had to have some fun along with it, and this was the faculty fun thing, and tease each other a little, you know, and our school went through the integration plans more smoothly than any other one in this area. But everybody took it with a grain of salt that it's something we had to do, though neither high school wanted to give up. We were forced to do it. Before that time, we had had a choice. They could choose, and a good many black students were going to Carthage High School rather than Turner High School. But they still had Turner High School, and they didn't want to let it go. So this was the big thing. Then another big thing that happened that year was air conditioning of our buildings. And that was a major thing. it required uh, passage of money to put in air conditioning in all the buildings, and they didn't want to put it in some without others. And classroom teachers worked to sell it also, because I know this movement started the year before. I knew about that because the year before I was president of classroom teachers. On the year in question here, Catherine Clark was president of classroom teachers. So they were cooperating with the administration and the school board to try to get this done. So the school honored an administrator with this fun thing. All right, I went back to the annuals, as I said, and to see what was recorded there for this year. And with the school board having to make the decisions and the administration having to carry them out, with the help of the faculty, I went through the annual for the year and pulled some pages. These won't show well enough for people to tell what they are. But here is the superintendent and school board. And on the school board, of course, were Tom Bankhead, John Cook, Dr. W.C. Smith, Dr. Wayne Kyle, Jack Parker, Drew Woods, and Olin Jofrion. And the superintendent was Mr. Lewis Robinson, and the students who prepared this annual complimented him and the school board for the way they handled all of the problems that came up that year. The school administration, the high school, Mr. Metz LaFollette was the principal, and it was his major responsibility to carry out the school board's instruction on this, because the court had handed it down and we were in the hands of the court. It made no difference who wanted to do it and who didn't want to do it. The time had come. We had had a matter of choice up to then. So Mr. LaFollette was the one that this group, and this right here is also, he received the award. It was dedicated to him that year for his efforts to make everything run smoothly. And they had a student, and this is the student committee that was appointed, having 3 blacks and 3 white students, plus the principal, and Mr. Carricker was the instructional director, and he was on that committee, and a teacher was on it, and then these students, along with Mr. LaFollette. They handled many complaints and smoothed them out. And so the staff honored him that year with the dedication of the annual as having done an expert job. The assistant principal, the first time we had an assistant principal in the high school, was Bill Tatum, that assisted Mr. LaFollette. Then over at junior high, the school went over, the junior high was set up at Turner campus, and Kyle Leftwich was the principal, and Ernest Brewster was the assistant principal over at junior high. And that was Turner, the year 70, 71. And this is the spring of 71 when this came out. So this was a complete reorganization of the whole school system. Now, the thing that made this amazing, that it went off as well as it did, and people have forgotten what it was like. In many communities, it was just an uproar. We had some problems, but all of them were peacefully settled without any major difficulties. And this order came in August. Well, in August, everything's already set for the new year. Student schedules are already made out. And so when the court handed down this ruling that we had to take it that September, that's September of 70, the whole thing had to be redone. And this is what the administrators had to face, that all of the Turner students had to have new schedules to fit into the schedule, and many of the Carthage High School students had to have new schedules because it had to absorb both. And then junior high had to do the same thing. And then every classroom in elementary school had to do the same thing. So you think about what all went on in the latter part of August that year, and by the time school opened in September. It was a really a heartbreaking experience to have all of it shoved in at the last moment. But they did it. And this is why we ought to recognize that we have had some real heroes that have handled this whole thing. And we have fine teachers now, but we had fine ones then that stuck to the job and did what they knew had to be done, and kept students alert that this is not my decision, but it's a decision for all of us, and so we'll make the most of it. And some attitudes had to be changed, but we got through it, and we got through it well. So this was a relief. This little paddle was a relief from the seriousness of the whole thing. Of course, it was never used, but it was a fun thing. And said, just give them a paddling if they don't stand in line or do what you tell them to do. And so the students then honored all these people. And we ourselves need to appreciate the entire staff for that time, because we were all on the line and had to be. What were the forced changes that we had to face that year? Well, 2 high schools had to become 1. Couldn't anymore be 2 high schools. 2 junior high schools had to become 1. And we had to do it within the buildings we had. So, students that had been going to the white high school, a lot of the ones that were in junior high had to be transferred to Turner grounds. And that was not a favorite subject, just as it was not a favorite subject for the black high school students at Turner to go to Carthage High School, because they had their own organizations and they didn't want to give them up over at Turner. So it was a problem on both campuses. All right. The high school was then where junior high is now. We didn't have the new building then, of course. This is 1971. And so we were on the campus on Holly Street. And this made a crowded situation because that increased the number in high school, you see. Made a crowded situation, but we had to make the most of it, as I said. So the principal of the high school on Holly Street was Miss LaFollette. Bill Tatum was his assistant principal. And they of course, had to pass down the rulings to all the staff and keep the staff in line. The staff then had to carry it out in the classes and so on. The CHS Student Relations Committee was Mr. LaFollette, Mr. Earl Carricker, 1 teacher, 3 white students, and 3 black students. And any real problem that came up between the races, that they didn't understand each other, then it had to go to that committee and be spelled out. We've named the school board that had to face all this, and of course they weren't happy about it either, because this upset the whole apple cart of the way we'd always done it. We just wouldn't do it that way anymore. So the faculty, I wanted to mention this, the faculty had already integrated. When we had open choice, the faculty integrated. We had some black teachers coming to the Carthage High School, and some white teachers were teaching over at Turner. So, and all the faculty meetings were together and everything, of course, and all the activities that we had were together. And we had a choice, but no longer would there be a choice. Everybody would do what the government said do. and it took time to win everybody over to it. But that year was the testing year. A fine teaching staff carried out the integration plans with a minimum of problems, much less than a lot of schools had. It was a year of change. It was permanent change. Never more would it be as it had been in the past. Probably it was time for all that to happen, but we were not ready, most people were not ready to just make the change suddenly like we had to do. Probably if we hadn't been dragging our feet and had done it along as we saw it coming, we would have done better. It was a year of permanent change, a difference in local education. Before 1970, students had a choice. Some were in the Carthage High School. After 70-71, they were integrated by law in all grades. The paddle was never used, of course, as I said, but it was a symbol of that we had to keep discipline. And when you're not happy, it's hard for you to be good. And so sometimes we had some problems that had to be tended to. But now what about those educators? Well, I thought it would be the proper thing to become aware. This unfolds just like the other did. Somewhere it's on this side of things. And it shows the teachers that were there at that time. And we won't have time to call them all, but you see we have all of those plus that many on the other side of that. That was the high school teachers and secretaries and special services people. 61 names were signed on the paddle. So all of these people were involved in kind of getting a little fun going to help everybody. What about, where are they now? 7 of them are deceased that are on that paddle. Hattie Maw Johns, Bess Lacey, Mr. LaFollette, Metz LaFollette, Naomi Phillips, Johnny Pitts was in the cafeteria at that time, and she signed it, Mary Roberts, Louis Robinson. Those I know are deceased. There may be others. And most of the others, as far as I know, are retired. And I went through and listed, and just nearly all of them are retired. The entire story, of course, is found in the high school annuals, and I have said all the time that this shelf of annuals was real history, and it is. I doubt if very many people in the community remember when we made all this change, and so much happens the next year. It's like histories of all kinds. We let history slide away, and we don't remember what it was like, and we just live it again, because if we don't remember it, we're liable to make the same mistakes we made before. So I felt that we would need, with the ending of this program, to dedicate a big thank you to every name on that list and say thank you for taking us through it. And we have a fine school system. The Capital for a Day people from Austin visited and complimented everything about it. And our children are doing well, and we're proud of that, and we wanted to do better. And so we say thank you to dedicated people who are making it happen.
Very good. Once again, a very interesting program. This is going to bring back some conversation on this program now.
I would think so.
And stir a tad of interest.
A tad of interest. And it's interesting because this is in the handwriting of the people. They signed it themselves. You see, somebody else didn't make a list of who was teaching. Every teacher had a chance to write on it. So this is part of the life of high school. And our high school, like all others, has gone through some changes, as all the school has.
You know, in the highest of our state government certainly gave many, many compliments to our
He
public
surely
school system.
did. Mr. Minnow was very complimentary of everything.
As well as the governor was.
Yes, the
in
governor was
town opening.
also. And I thought it was great that children in school got to see these people and shake their hands.
You bet.
They won't ever forget this.
And we probably will not have the opportunity again for many, many years
Oh, we
to have
won't. They won't come to us again. They'll
that-
have to go to somebody else
that's right.
next time.
that many state officials
Right.
in our community. Mr. Grown, thank you. We're pushing our time
Yes, I
as
knew we were
usual.
about up.
Remind everyone that the Panola County Historical and Genealogical Association meeting will be Monday, September the 13th. It'll be held at the old jail at 7 p.m., and everyone is welcome.
Right.
Tomorrow, the High Sheriff of Panola County will be our guest, and until then, we certainly hope that you have a great day.
Right.
Check around to see who's got the best deal on.
It also is sexually explicit, is not appropriate for children. They began talking at early grades about sexually explicit items.
Fisher also claims the program